For a set of subject areas that seem so drastically far apart, philosophy and sport actually have a lot more overlappings than we probably first realized. Now maybe that's only apparent to me because I studied philosophy and I've always played sport, but I promise you they're there. Now one of these overlappings is the way that normative ethical theories talk about what's right and wrong and how certain managers implement their styles of play on their football teams. Now some managers place an emphasis on rules. They want their players to do a certain thing in a certain situation to achieve some controlled goal. Now these are the deontological managers, and there are some managers who place an emphasis on each player just doing what's best for the team. There's much less emphasis on formation, no rigid positioning, and a freedom for players to make their own decisions just in case it brings about the best results for the team. Now these are the utilitarian managers. And some managers place a real emphasis on the character of their players. They want them to be passionate, have a real belief in the cause, and essentially sacrifice everything for the team. These are the virtue ethic managers. And then there are the unicorns. These are the managers that do have some set rules and structure in their team, but they give their players license to break them if they feel like they can do something that will lead to the best results for the team. And these managers also place an emphasis on the character of their players, wanting them to be willing workers and really die for the badge. In philosophy, deontology is an ethical theory that judges the morality of an action based on rules, duties, and obligations rather than just the action's consequences, emphasizing that some actions are inherently right or wrong. So a deontological manager would be someone like Ruben Amorim, very rigid in his thinking, back three or nothing, and that's probably part of why he was sacked by Man United. The board just found him too rigid in his thinking and his rules to really be on the same page. This is the kind of manager that wants their players to do a certain thing in very specific situations. Play a long ball here, make a third man run here, recycle the ball here. They have rules that they want their players to follow because they think that their plan is really good. At the root of it, they want a level of control and predictability about the way that their teams play. Not because they're control freaks, but because they truly believe that their way of thinking is the best way for their team to get results. This is often how lower level or youth managers operate. And this is because the players that they have at their disposal aren't intelligent or talented enough to make those kinds of decisions on their own. I know that when I was playing youth football, I had things like never play across goal or always play the way you're facing told to me all the time. And that's because at that level, we kind of need those instructions or bits of guidance to help us through a game of football that is kind of difficult when you're at that level. Now, utilitarianism is a moral theory, a form of consequentialism, that judges actions by their outcomes, aiming for the greatest good for the greatest number, meaning the most happiness and least suffering for all involved. So a utilitarian manager would be someone like Jurgen Klopp. Very free-flowing, very few rules, and a real lack of care about who helps a team or how the team is helped. Just a commitment to the team being helped. If Andy Robertson felt like sprinting off and pressing the goalkeeper from left back, then that was fine, so long as Klopp thought that it'd be good for the team. If Trent wanted to attempt 66 crosses in a game because he thought that, that was his day, that he was going to help the team, then that was okay. So long as the actions of the player are geared towards an overall benefit for the team, then the manager is not really concerned. This is the kind of manager that thrives when they have elite and intelligent players. The kind of players that don't need much more than motivation or a sense of togetherness to make them want to actually help the rest of the team. With Klopp's Liverpool or Ancelotti's Real Madrid, the sense of togetherness was almost overwhelming at points. A plethora of late comebacks or improbable results that were simply the result of these players wanting to do the best that they could for their team. Performances from players that had a level of expression or expansion that could only exist in a culture where their coach gives them the freedom to make decisions that they think will help their team the most. Now, virtue ethics is a character-based moral theory originating with Aristotle that centers on developing virtuous traits like honesty, courage, and wisdom. So a virtue ethic manager would be someone like Diego Simeone, one that appreciates the dirty work that you would only do if you had an unwavering commitment to the cause, to the badge. These would be things like doing a full recovery sprint if the opposition is countering from a corner, or tracking a run 45 yards towards your own goal, or laying your body out on the line to block a shot in the 90th minute. These are the kinds of actions that virtue ethic managers love and cherish more than a player who can dance past five or someone who can follow rules to a T. It's this kind of manager that doesn't look for the best individual players, but instead looks for players who they can trust to sacrifice everything for the badge in that given game. And when the going gets tough, a team that's managed by a virtue ethic manager can grind out really decisive or season-defining results on the back of effort alone. A winning goal in the 95th minute from a corner, or a game-saving goal line clearance when a goal was all but guaranteed. But then there are some managers who seem to have the perfect balance of all three. They have a set of rules that are intelligent enough that make players actually want to buy in, but then they also give their players license to go ahead and break those rules to try and make decisions that they think will lead to the most success for the team. And then they also value the gritty, dirty work kind of players that are often the backbone of some teams. And this is what Pep Guardiola is. Sure, he has a possession-heavy positional style of play that has some key rules, but if Jeremy Doku wants to take on his fullback one-on-one because he thinks that's going to be the team's best opportunity to score a goal, then he's given license to break the rule that might say that he's obliged to circulate the ball in that given situation. And when Ruben Diaz lays out to block a shot that's already by Donnarumma and head into the empty net, Pep Guardiola has a way of valuing those players and really building a squad of people who buy in and have those character traits. He is the true managerial unicorn. Now, I'm sure that all managers want to be like Pep and implement all three of these managerial traits seamlessly, but none quite do it like Pep does. But that doesn't have to be a bad thing. Jurgen Klopp won every single trophy he possibly could at Liverpool, being a primarily utilitarian manager. Diego Simeone has taken his virtue ethic approach to a La Liga title and multiple Champions League finals. And even Ruben Amorim had great success with his deontological based approach when he was a manager of Sporting. You don't need to be like Pep to be a great manager, but it sure would help. In conclusion, there's a lot of stuff you can take from philosophy that will explain why certain managers are the way they are. I mean, they do often talk about their footballing philosophies from time to time. And if we're ever struggling to explain something in sports, it might be a good idea to turn to philosophy to try and give us some answers. Anyway, if you guys enjoyed this video, then go check out the complimentary article on my website and hit the like button, subscribe to support me in the future. Peace.